Ready?
Well, actually, it's on.
Starting it.
No talk.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good.
We'll make this. Ready?
Well, actually, it's on.
Starting it.
I'd like to welcome everybody to the Winston County Board of Commissioners meeting. It's December the 5th, 2022 at 1:30 p.m. Roll call, please.
Jim Marlowe,
Present.
Tim Atkinson, Jim Razor,
I think starting off this meeting, we're going to switch a few things around from the old business to the new business. I do know under old business, we have a casino liquor license fee approval to talk about, the approval of phone system bid. Under new business, the chairman's selection. I would like to go ahead and at this time, let's go ahead and start off with the new business and then go back to the old business. So under new business, we have the chairmanship selection. So I've been chairman here for a few years. I would like to make a nomination that Tim Atkinson become our new county board chairman. Jim, you have anything?
I'll second.
A second? Okay, that's my motion and he seconded it.
Jim Marlowe,
Yeah.
Jim Razor,
Yeah.
Tim Atkinson,
I'm saying
Too bad. At this time, we should
why don't we,
switch chairs.
we'll switch the chairs.
Which is that your two?
Not sure what I just got myself into, but why not?
Do have, just for the record, we contacted the authorities on who stole your nameplate.
Yeah. They're
It is on the way.
ready to-
So, Tim, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, how about we go back to old business? And why don't we lead off with the casino liquor license? And I think there was some discussion about what this thing was gonna look like. Red, you didn't have any formal input from us on that yet, have you?
I have not. We've had a meeting with the casino management team, and at the then time Chairman Marlowe discussed some options. It's my understanding some additional conversations have occurred. We were looking at, it will be a new classification of license being that of a casino, but housed within the casino property will be numerous restaurants as well.
Yeah.
So it was how to handle that, whether or not each restaurant, similar to a mall where you would have the mall property, but each restaurant would have its own liquor license and responsible for it. Under this element, I believe the casino was requesting that they just be grouped together, which would give some leeway for you as a commission, liquor control commission, to be able to assess if there was a violation for one restaurant, to be able to assess a penalty on that restaurant as opposed to going after the whole
After
liquor
the whole-
license.
yeah.
But you would have the ability as well to go after the whole liquor license. So there's some pros and cons, and those were explained kind of in our meeting. And I think the casino was still on board with a global license that would cover the property, which quite honestly would be easier for the county. It would cover the outdoor concerts, it would cover the
Everything.
hotel, it would cover the walkways, everything that it needed to do. So then we would turn to what that fee looks like, because we don't have a license similar to that. Keeping in mind that it would be a 24/7 liquor availability license, which is different than what we've got in other locations as well. So,
And then what about the liquor license, if it's all encompassing, and we have a restaurant, or restaurants typically don't sell alcohol after, was it 1:30?
correct.
So those establishments, would they still He's selling alcohol?
As a casino license, it
casino.
would be eligible for 24/7.
Okay.
If they were open, for instance, so if room service, if somebody called and said, I'd like a Moscow Mule delivered to my room, and the hotel was
3
willing,
o'clock in the morning?
they'd be able to do it. So
See, so that's substantially, that's a lot different than what our restaurants have in the county right now.
it is. It is. But then that also gives you the leeway, we had discussed in our meeting about somebody that's on the floor having a drink and wants to head back to their room.
Yeah.
Do you have a security guard at the door that says, no, you can't take it, or do you permit it? And again, if you do a property license with the casino, they would be able to walk across. Obviously, we would not want that out in the parking lot, but there would be a fenced section that they could get to the hotel, or they could be outside in the outside concert venue.
Or a
Whatnot.
beer garden.
Right.
Or a place to smoke cigarettes, you know?
Correct. So that's kind of the vision that was sketched out. It's just a question of where the rest of the board wanted to be, and then what that fee association was gonna look like. Currently, for a regular restaurant license, I believe it's $1,350 per year.
Right.
I believe they're looking at a 4 restaurants, maybe 5 counting room service.
5 with room service, because you have the event center.
And then, so there's a lot of different things at play here, so, if I owned a restaurant and I had 3 different locations, I wouldn't be able to get one license that covered all 3
You'd have to go all
locations,
three.
I'd have to get all 3, so those are just things for the board to take into consideration and figure out how to be, how to come up with a figure that's manageable for both the county and the casino, to be honest with you.
Right.
We're going, Chairman.
So go ahead.
I would say, you have something you want to,
Oh, I think that sounds about right. And also unmute Mo, because Mo may have something.
we have
he may
Mo
wanna add
Hyman
to that.
on Zoom.
Mo will have to
Yeah,
unmute himself.
he's muted.
Oh, Mo, you could unmute.
Mo down at the bottom,
There
there
he
you go.
is.
Well, first, good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to see everyone. It's been a while, so hopefully everyone had a good Thanksgiving. So yeah, we certainly, we weren't very clear in terms of where we were in the process for this particular license. Some of what I heard our county attorney speak to makes a lot of sense. Is there something that is under consideration or is being drafted that perhaps we would have an opportunity to take a look at so we can provide some of our thoughts? Because we're still in the process of formulating all the details behind all the various restaurants and stuff, including the hours of operation and things like that. So it would be beneficial if we could have some sort of an idea on what's under consideration at this particular moment. So we can perhaps put our heads together and make sure that it works for both the county and us as well.
So Mo, what you said, or what Rhett said, our legal advice, with an encompassing license for the whole casino. Now, you would be on board with that? That would be something that you would be looking for, correct?
That would certainly be something of interest to us. We've certainly have had the ability to do that in some of our other jurisdictions as well. So we would certainly be interested in looking at that, sir. Yes.
As a former liquor commissioner, in discussing it with your attorney briefly, the Class A license would enable the holder to not only sell the alcohol on their premises, but it defines their premises. So basically, the premises, we're discussing maybe an outdoor venue of some sort, that would still be, as long as it is casino, to me, as long as the casino owned that property, that is all part of that premises, as far as the definition of what is a premises. So if you had the all-encompassing blanket, I'll call it the blanket liquor license, that wouldn't be a problem if you guys wanted to have something off-site and have an event outside or whatever. I think in discussing a little bit with our attorney too, though, but I think what we really need to do, and a question that was brought up to me by a friend of mine at one time, we need to define what is a casino? What is a casino license? Because what if the average gaming facility downtown says, well, shoot, for that amount of money, if I can stay open 24/7, I'll pay that fee. Well, that's not what we want, and so I think what we need to do is specify what is a casino, and identify that or define that, and then from that point, then I think we're all in the same wave, I would like to think. I don't know about.
Can that be defined by the holder of a state casino license?
I believe so, Jim. I think that's the easiest way to do it. We know the general parameters. The only potential issue you have, and again, if you define it as the casino property excluding the parking lot, for instance, it's gonna cover all the acreage. So I know in the future, they're talking about potentially doing a water park. So is that under the casino license, or is that a separate license for the water park to be included, or is the water park gonna be part of the casino? Because I don't know what the holdings structure of this is, because if a different company is gonna hold the restaurants from the casino, then that company's gonna have to get the restaurant license because it's not part of the casino. So right now, I know your plan was everything's gonna be mutual ownership, that you're not gonna have outside entities that are bringing a restaurant in play.
Correct.
But I know that, for instance, down in Tunica, at one point in time, they had a restaurant that was a famous lady, that type of thing, to where that wasn't then under the same ownership. And from a casino management, I would think that anybody that has the ability to serve alcohol on the property, you guys want to control. So you don't want to jeopardize your casino license by giving it to a Quiznos, for instance, or one of those places. So I don't know where you guys want to go with it, but that's the overall. As far as a draft, Mo, I will do what the board wants. I don't generally like to allow the people that are going to benefit from the ordinance be that involved with creating the ordinance. But certainly,
This is a special circumstance.
I know, and that's why I said certainly we can work through that.
Right.
And
Yes. And
go ahead.
yeah, no, and thank you for that. And we certainly respect your position in that regard. I think we're all of us, I think, are on the same page in terms of having perhaps a license that gives the casino the flexibility it needs to operate the facilities in a manner that it supports the customer base that's going to be there. So some of the things that you were referring to in terms of if the Illinois Gaming Board does not have any objection to a person who has served alcohol on the gaming floor, for instance, take it up to their room, we would want to see that, because that's kind of how we're used to, and it serves the customers the best. And then similarly, for instance, if we want to hold a little concert outside, for instance, it's a beautiful, say, I don't know, May or sometime in September, if you want to do an outdoor concert, we want the ability to be able to sell alcohol out there as well. So certainly it makes a lot of sense to us if we can take a look at it from that standpoint.
I would like to say one point, though, on the outdoor activities. I do know Walker's Bluff itself is located in Jackson County. So if they had an event out there, this license would not cover that at all. Correct. It's only the casino properties.
Okay.
My personal thought on this, it's just my thought only on this one three-person board, is the water park would be a totally separate entity, even though it may be on casino property. I don't know if it's casino property or Walker Bluff property. It's a fine line there. I don't know how we would define that, but that'd be something totally different. We're talking casino. The water park is not a casino. Amusement. It'd be amusement. So I think that would fall back into the standard Class A that we have already in place.
So let's deal with casino.
I think let's just deal with casino and let's not complicate it.
Yeah.
And let's just, and honestly, I will say this as well. I think that this is as I said before, we don't deal with casinos opening up every year, you know. This, to me, is kind of a living document is what I'd look at. If there are issues that we could, we see pop up as time goes on, you could come to the board, we could address the issues. If we need to make an adjustment, we could. I would think we could, if the board is in agreement with it. You know, if we need to tweak it somehow as time goes on, because, like I said, we've not had a casino before in our county. So,
I do. I don't think we want to get back into a corner as a board, though. The concern I have is the split of the restaurants and the casino. I appreciate the simplicity of one license, but even looking out for the casino, I would hate to see something come up 2 or 3 or 10 years from now from one of the restaurants that jeopardizes more properties. So I appreciate the single license and that it makes life easier for a lot of people, but easier isn't always the best way to protect both sides. I tend to lean towards, I would like to see the restaurants have their own license and the casino have its license. We've got to make them mesh. I understand that because we're walking from property to property, and I'm not trying to get in the way of that either. But that's my concern. It's not a deal breaker, but it's a concern.
And Jim, I brought that same issue up in our meeting with the casino management. And I will tell you that casino management is actually the one that preferred to have the universal license.
Right.
Even though I pointed out that if this restaurant here actually had a violation, it could potentially affect the casino license. And they still seem to indicate.
They still seem to be okay. That's the reason why I asked that
So
question.
just additional information for you to have filled in.
And I'm with you. I would be concerned that, again, 8-10 years from now, let's don't talk about opening, let's talk about down the road. What if we do end up in a situation where we have subcontractors, and I think then we'd be scrambling to make adjustments.
Yeah, no,
Just food for thought now.
I agree.
I agree with that, you know. The economy, I guess, of the casinos, that some of the restaurants are actually in the casino itself, right? So if they're gambling and they can drink, and if they're at a machine in a restaurant per se, that has its own kitchen and serves food, you
Right.
know, so when I'm sitting here, I can have a beer and some, but it's someone sitting in the chair next to me, not in front of the slot machine at a regular table, like a sports book, right? Because it's going to be a sports book. The sports book is gambling. You know, are they going to not be allowed to order a drink? And it's going to be really hard to enforce that for us, right? So the simplicity is more on the operational side of it for us. You know, we obviously take, you know, highly into account, you know, over serving and then those types of things to make sure what the intent is. Also, you have events in the event center. People will come out, you know, they have the little banquet bars in there, and then they come out to go into the casino with their cocktail or something like that. You know, we don't want them to have to throw it out, you know. So it kind of helps in some cases operationally to function for the best interest of, you know, the customers, you know, so it's not like, you know, the rolled eyes or any hurdle, I guess, right? So they have a great experience and a great, you know, a good experience they can tell their friends and neighbors and stuff about when they come visit us. So operationally, that's kind of where that falls into play, where it's not as decisive. You know, the restaurant's here and the casino is here.
So it's a seamless experience going from one place to the other.
Yeah, it's all under one umbrella. I mean, it's all under one building per se. You know, I'd like to be able to do, and we've done specials, the family restaurants, you know, and maybe a 24-hour restaurant with a hotel. Business demands it, you know, so I want to be able to serve mimosas in the morning or, you know, somebody wants a glass of wine with their dinner after, you know, 3 a.m, because, you know, casinos are notorious for not necessarily having a lot of windows, so, or clocks, you know. So again, it's part of the experience of the customer, what they would like to expect. You know, you look at customers that may go to Vegas or something else and they want to have a similar experience when they're here. And that's what we try to provide. So, you know, I don't know if Mo has anything to add to that, but that was the general input having it.
No, I think you covered it well, Craig. And I think the only other thing I would add is that, our training programs, we certainly take the alcohol serving part very seriously. And so we pay a lot of attention to our, not only the tips training, but training beyond that and identifying intoxication and making sure we're taking appropriate action and, whether it's slowing them down and things like that, because it's in our best interest to make sure we provide a safe environment for our customers. So we take all the necessary steps in that regard to ensure that we do what needs to be done to protect that license. And it's not only the alcohol license, it's also our gaming license at the same time. So we'll provide the proper training and ensure proper measures and steps are in place to have accountability in place.
Okay, so what direction would you guys want to give Brett on building improvements? This license.
Well,
So an over encompassing, and then we have the choice of going to each restaurant, or just one overreaching license.
Well, it sounds like, the consensus here is one.
But
I would think we could write, I think we could write to the issue that you would be able to move from one building through one open space to another place in the same building, still have the same permissions, allowances, but it's much simpler to just do a single. And again, I'm not going to
yeah,
hold this up with
like I
that.
said, if you're just to open up a bar in the county anywhere and you get a class A, everything talks about the premises.
The premises,
So the
right.
premises be pretty much the casino, hotel, that'd be the premises.
and in this case, it's going to encompass the grounds outside the building.
Exactly, but they want
Because it's
something
outside-
outside.
That's something we can identify ahead of
Except for
time.
Except the
parking.
parking lot.
Right, there'll be no alcohol in the parking lot.
And as far as we're all in agreement, it's a 24/7 type of license, because that's basically the way casinos operate.
Right.
I get that. We do want to be good neighbors, and if they're comfortable with one license, and if there's a problem with any one entity, if it reflected back on the casino itself, if they're comfortable with that,
Understanding that one incident could cause a shutdown.
I'm not 100% comfortable with that. I would like to know if there's any way that it could be evaluated based on the outlet specific.
Well, then you would have to
Because-
license them specifically.
they-
So we can have an over encompassing,
Unless-
can we, I don't know of any other way of getting around it.
I don't know how we could.
And it's not only just at the local level, but at the state level. So if the state liquor board comes in and finds something wrong and they actually have the jurisdiction over top of the local, they're gonna look at it the same way. If the violation occurs to where they feel as though they need to take action, they're gonna take it against the license holder. If they're not probably gonna separate that out. That's the local level, because it's more of a personal relationship. The state, you're a number in their system, unfortunately. So I think that's something for you to consider. The other question I would have for the board is, does it need to be the same owner on the premises? Or are you guys envisioning a premises license itself, that it doesn't matter who the owner is? Because if
You see, right now,
the restaurant LLC has this restaurant, and for liability or for tax write-off or for whatever else the case may be, XYZ restaurant over here it's all part of the casino, but it's a separate corporation that owns it.
I would
Where's
think
that flow?
corporation by corporation, if there's more than one owner.
Okay, so if there's more than one corporation or LLC that owns the interest in the restaurant, then it's a separate license. The casino will cover, so whatever the casino holding company is, that, and then whatever else
we
it
supplement it,
owns.
then they would be responsible for their own.
Correct.
liquor license.
Right,
because
so outside your corporate umbrella, anybody else would have to have a license.
I think we're really progressive and aggressive on, controlling alcohol and ensuring safe environment. Yeah, I don't see any objections to that, Mo, do you?
Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm following because Williamson County is essentially, right, like the license holder, for instance, for down there. So from that standpoint, all the assets under that roof belong to that particular entity. So we do not have a third party that's involved in the operations of our restaurants. So at this particular juncture, I don't think that's an issue. So you would be licensing under one umbrella, one entity for us, the Walker's Bluff Casino Resort.
Answers that question.
And that helps us if we ever end up with a third party taking a restaurant.
Right.
At least
Correct.
it's stipulations already identified ahead.
Yep, that would be right. Yep.
So third party comes in, they gotta come back.
There, yep, yeah, something different has to happen because we wouldn't want to take on the accountability of their actions.
Exactly,
Yes.
exactly, yeah. I would say, like,
Okay, so I'm good with that. Jim, are you good with that? Okay with that?
Yeah, I think we're all good with that.
Everybody's good.
Fee
Now,
structure.
let's talk about fees now.
Sure.
So Jim, I know at one time you had said,
For
10,000 for the overall,
overall,
and then what would normally be our restaurant fee
would be
for each.
$13.50, I believe, isn't it, for Class A?
well, the restaurant, class A, and that wouldn't be under the umbrella, it'd be its own separate license.
No, what we're trying to do is build your entire fee. So if you have 4 restaurants, we're looking at that as 4 Class A's.
It's in class A required to stop serving at 45.
Don't look at it from a,
Yeah, I'm sorry, I
I'm
didn't
sorry,
explain.
from a
it.
class of
Well,
license.
maybe,
We're talking a lot of reading lately.
okay, well, maybe we need to identify that as a separate class as
So,
well.
so what they're, if I understand,
You understand- I think you do,
they're
yes.
gonna do a casino license fee, okay? In fairness to the surrounding entities within the county, if I have a restaurant and I have to pay $13.50, but you have a restaurant, in fact, you have 4 of them on your casino property, and you only have to pay $4,000 for those, we're gonna have some people complain that I have to pay $13.50, but you don't have to pay, you're only paying, $12.50 for each. Does that make sense?
So pay the $13.50 for each.
No. What I'm saying is, they're trying to equalize it because your entity is going to have not only one restaurant license, you're gonna have 4 restaurant licenses.
Correct.
If I own 4 separate locations, I have to have 4 separate restaurant licenses.
Okay, so you're getting over the, yeah. you're
So they're
talking
trying to
about
do the formula, the reverse
Yeah,
math to
umbrella.
get to a number that will say, okay, so the casino floor is gonna be X dollars and each restaurant is gonna be Y dollars, so therefore the total is the,
I think the casino floors should be just like a restaurant then.
5,400.
well, and that's,
I mean, why wouldn't the casino be any different than a restaurant then?
24/7.
Yeah.
Is one big difference. And that's for all 5 of the entities or properties.
Including the casino, right?
Correct.
Right.
That's an enormous advantage.
Yeah.
We could identify the Class A as Class A/C, or Class A C casino, Class A.
I prefer just to do a casino liquor
Let's
license
just do a
category
total ball of
in
wax.
its entirety, so we're not dealing with,
Okay.
well, the restaurant closed, so therefore, we're not gonna apply, but then,
Yeah.
I mean, if we're gonna do a premises license for a casino, I would just prefer it's a lump sum. However you guys wanna justify the fee. There won't be 5 separate fees, it's gonna be one fee.
One license.
Inclusive of all.
And it's gonna include whether you have 4 restaurants, 5 restaurants, whatever, it's gonna be one fee. That's what they're trying to,
So back to what I was saying, Commissioner Morrow had originally talked about a $10,000 fee
$10,000.
just for the casino.
Yeah.
And that we treat each individual restaurant as a Class A, which was $13.50, so that was 4. So if we did that, that would make a total fee schedule of about $15,400. If that's what we wanted that to be, Jim, that was what you had originally talked about. So would that be our number?
Yeah, I was in the 15 range.
You were in the
But
15?
By your equation, that's where you end up.
Right.
Would, if I may, would there be some flexibility in that number? Because just from a logistics standpoint, and as I was thinking through here, if we're trying to equalize or normalize the number for the sake of those facilities that have Class A licenses and have some restrictions, we're going to have a fine dining restaurant called Ruthie's, right? So they're going to serve alcohol. We'll have the 22 and Wine, which is going to be the family dining restaurant. That's going to have the ability to sell liquor. Then we will have Draft Day, which is on the gaming floor, which is essentially who we are calling the casino beverage side of the operation. Okay, so that's actually an outlet in itself, correct? That serves alcohol onto the gaming floor. So that's 3, okay? And I guess I have a question for you all. It's as far as the pool goes, if there's a pool, and I know that our situation is a little unique, and if you serve alcohol on the pool, does that require a separate license?
Not under the,
No, not
under the scenario that we're proposing is your hotel's gonna be covered by this license, your pool's gonna be covered by this license, your outdoor concert venue is gonna be covered by this license, your restaurants are gonna be covered by this license, and your gaming floor is gonna be covered by this license. So you're gonna have essentially 6, 7 entities that normally would have to get a separate license, and you're gonna have the 24/7 availability. Whether you use it, that's up to you, but that's all. That's all of it.
It's all.
Okay.
So on the premises, not the parking lot, you guys can serve alcohol.
All right, so 7 times 1350 comes out to about 9450. That's my understanding that Mr. Marlowe had proposed 10,000. I believe with that same thought process in terms of the number of outlets it was going to cover. So I'm just curious. I'm just trying to understand how we get from the 10 to the 15.
Well, my proposal was just mine only. I've not really discussed that with the board prior to right now, but it's just an idea, this is a 3-person, so,
The 1350s are not open 24/7,
Right, they're not open
24/7.
so there is a bonus there.
Yeah, right,
If you just get the 1350 alone.
right.
Yeah.
Under the
Once
umbrella
again, the only
with the
reason.
casino attached to it, then it's 24/7.
Exactly,
Right, and then that's the premium.
That's,
And the only
And
reason
then
we
how do
call
we
it
get to that number?
1350 is because the other restaurants in the county, that's what they have to pay.
Understood, yeah, I get that
Okay.
part. How
That's
do
the
we
only
get to-
significance behind that number.
Got it, that makes sense. And then the 10,000, where did that number derive from?
that was just, I had called various other counties and cities, municipalities that had casinos and try to get an idea how they did it. Basically on what their responses were. So there was a wide range, but so the high end was right at about 10,000. So that was one, but for 24/7, what it means as far as, and I know you'll have your own security on site, but that does entail that we have to have maybe more security out in that area, fire coverage, everything else, so.
Now, how does that provide for, I guess, exclusivity? Is every casino in town now and every bar going to have the option to do this as well?
No,
There is no other
because
casino.
your casino license will give you the ability to get this liquor license. Without the casino license, you won't be able to get it.
The 24/7 is gonna operate under the class license of casino only.
The class that we
Yeah.
have.
It's not going to be a restaurant, it's not going to be a golf course, it's not gonna be anything,
It also has slot machines.
It's not a gaming parlor.
Right.
That's the difference
That's the
between a
difference
casino.
between the two, yeah, I just wanted to
as-
make sure that.
Commissioner Razor
That was
indicated.
identified, yeah.
Casino license is different from a gaming license.
So if somebody has their own gaming facility, they want to, they say, hey, we'll pay that so we can stay open 24/7. It's for casino.
Hey, Mo?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. Apologize.
It's exclusive for our type of license that we have. So it would be exclusive to us, not the other places that have gaming.
And I guess unless you guys wanted to shut alcohol off at 1:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
My guess is you probably don't.
Probably not.
Yeah. Hey, the only other thing I would add to that comment is that, you know, a lot of these restaurants will most likely, in fact, I can say with certainty, will be closed, right, by 9 or 10 o'clock, with the exception of draft day alone, that may stay open till, say, 1, 2 a.m. And then there's going to be some beverage service. So that 24/7 flexibility essentially, you know, it transitions only from those 7 outlets to 1 outlet. So if we can, in your deliberation, perhaps give it a little bit of thought, you know, consideration to perhaps on the fee side to say, okay, so it's $9,450 for 7. And for that one particular outlet that's technically going to be serving the alcohol at, say, 3 a.m. in the morning while the others are closed, what is that premium factor that could be added to it? So we would appreciate that if you could do that.
I think if we end up there, we're losing the concept of an umbrella. Now we're back to
Yeah.
writing individual exclusions for individual entities, and we've kind of lost that single license. So I think that's the premium of the single license.
We really don't have anything to do with serving food,
No, and once again, this is,
strictly sales of alcohol.
if they decide not to sell food after 9 o'clock or whatever time, then
It's their choice.
that's their choice.
If they have
That's
the
their
ability to
choice.
stay open.
I think we have a fee schedule. You happy with 15? Are you happy with 15? Okay, then that's what we'll make it.
And that's for premises.
That's
And if they decide they're gonna add 2 more restaurants or whatever, it's still 15?
still 15.
Okay, just wanna make sure everybody's clear. And that also gives you morning, which most restaurant licenses can't sell alcohol in the morning.
They get you
So-
out.
7 days a week.
Okay.
All right.
I will get a draft together based upon that and circulate for review.
Perfect.
Thank you very much, everyone, for your time and consideration. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for coming here today. Appreciate it.
I want to appreciate Jim and the rest of you guys have been working the rat, been banging their head on the wall this for a few months now. I do appreciate.
Well,
it.
there's been a lot of work
A
on
lot of back of that, yeah. I
it.
understand.
And now we know, now we have a clear plan.
Appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Greg. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mo.
All right.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Welcome to stay if you like.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about animal control leases, so we're all
Thank you.
gonna stop.
Thanks again, guys.
Thank you, Rick. Oh, let me ask one question
Yes.
before you leave. Do you have an opening date yet?
No, actually, we have a meeting tomorrow with the construction team. We gotta get an update on all that.
Okay.
So the date is not necessarily set yet, because it's really the ebbs and flows of construction, the supply chain has been.
We heard there's an
Something
issue with
never-
a generator.
A generator?
The generator was,
I haven't heard that yet, no,
okay,
no, but everything right now is just kind of going like this for, like I said, mostly supplies and labor, you know, 2 main key areas.
Do you have any business cards you can give to Tim and Jim?
Yeah.
And then maybe also the new state's attorney.
Oh, good, Ted. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Let me get them.
Okay, perfect.
Okay,
That's
perfect.
all right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on the old business, the approval of the phone system bid. Mine in there. Did you guys both have a chance to tell me that?
I have, I'm certainly behind 2 of these, but, general notes for me to just kick it off is, I see this as more than just the phone. I see this certainly as a lot more than just what's the lowest bid. This is public safety involved in this. Recent events and losing panic buttons in courtrooms and interruption of communication to parts of the campus here. We need to find a way to get away from that. So if that takes a higher bid to get to a system that we feel comfortable with, I think that has to be considered.
I think you're absolutely right, Jim, and I think that some of the bids that we have that are from companies who are already here, who've had the opportunity to clean this thing up and make sure that our phones are working when they're supposed to be working, and that has not happened. Quite frankly, that simply has not happened.
We did, it's like whenever you have a car or something goes wrong with it, you try to get it fixed first. But after consistent times of not getting the problem fixed in the car, I think this is the same way for a long time. Things were somewhat going okay. And it seemed like at the very last few months, everything just
The wheels fall off.
clicked.
Yeah.
Yeah, so now's the time. We did, every time we try to make an effort to take care of things, we reached a point we had to do something.
And I think,
I agree with Jim on that note, as far as, you know.
well, I can't see rewarding a contractor who's already here who has not done the job, in my opinion. That's just simply my opinion.
Then I have to ask where that takes the two of you, because I would rather fall in behind you at this point. We've eliminated one. I believe there was one eliminated by the bid process.
Right. Well, I'll throw mine out there. I think our best, most secure system is gonna be with Mayor Group. That's just my opinion.
I'll go next, Jim, if you don't mind. I would have to agree with Tim, in looking at ProTech, we had, a bid from ProTech, Mayor, Futiva, and CES, but with ProTech, I just didn't get the feeling that it was all a one-man operation at this time, and maybe later on they will expand where they could, be more apt to give us a, I don't know, more comfortable idea of how they would handle everything. And so that's what concerned me about ProTech. Futiva, I didn't really have a problem with Futiva. I know they're, everywhere you look, they're boring somewhere, you know, and they're expanding their services. I think Mayor actually gave us the best option. They gave us 3 options. And as far as I'm concerned, the option on purchasing the phones, I don't know if that's where you two guys, we had 3 options. One was we host the phone system. Option 2 would have been purchasing phones. And they host it. And option 3, I believe, where they provide us with free phones, and it's an increasing fee for hosting it and for the free phones. Actually, option 2 is good for me in the long run from Mayor. So
Did you have a pick of the 3 options?
I do, I agree with the mayor. I think ProTech is an exciting young company, but I think they're a young company.
Yeah.
I think there's a relationship there in the future, but not now. Futiva, I would also chime in. I have worked with Futiva in my previous experience, and they are working very hard for Williamson County right now. And again, a company we need to think about, where relationships are in the future. But for this particular project, the bids that were in front of me, I thought Mr. Mayor had the best option. I have also worked with him. I'm quite impressed with his work. I know he's doing this sort of work all over the state. He has experience with it. I agree with you, Mr. Marlowe, that the second option he offered, the purchase of the phones and paying a fee on the service was probably the better option for us. My question there is that can we move the purchase into more of a capital fund? Where do we want to pull the money for that? I also believe likely could pull ARPA money into that. I would have to look at that, but
We
Sure,
did,
guy right
we-
there.
we did set money aside in capital funds for a new phone system. So, or we could do it through ARPA if we have an ARPA money.
I think we have a couple
Do
different.
you want me to tell you this option now, or would you like to wait?
No, go ahead. bring it
Let's-
on.
That, the way we're gonna fund this can actually be decided later. I think right now the bigger thing is who we're gonna choose and what
Okay.
option.
Do
So,
we need to vote on this then?
okay, so,
If we need to vote on it,
Yeah.
the particular option? Or would we
Um,
rather,
I
I'd almost,
think you can vote on a company and
Let's
then
vote on
have
the company.
discussion for this, for how you wanna, whether you wanna go with option 1, 2, or 3, based upon funding.
okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion and then we approve, award a contract to Mayor Networking, Mayor Networking Branding or whatever it is. For the phones, a new phone system in Williamson County. That includes the courthouse, the jail, administration building, I believe animal control,
Highway,
highway, the board, everything.
Highway has, just to interrupt, Highway has a current contract with Tiva.
That's with internet.
That's internet only, it's not,
Is that
I
bandwidth or for the phone?
I was under the
That was with internet. only.
understanding, okay,
I was thinking that we had included the highway.
okay.
Okay, we need to clean that.
That was brought in when Greg Smothers was engineer. He brought them in for their IT, or their internet.
Okay.
Okay. we have
That's
motion.
my motion. I'm making the motion, then we go with mayor.
Second.
Maybe second, roll call please.
Jim Razor.
Yeah.
Tim Atkinson.
Yeah.
Jim Marlowe.
Okay. Would you like to tell us about that option, Ashley?
Well, you mentioned ARPA money, at my conference, and Jim, you got an email, just, do I need to say Mr. Marlowe or? We have been awarded through the Local Assistance and Tribal Consistency Fund, which is a Department of Treasury funding similar to ARPA. It appears for fiscal year 2022 and 23. I hadn't mentioned that. I thought it's actually 204,237.28.
204,
237.28. It appears we're going to get in 2 tranches, just like we did ARPA, but they're going to come very quickly. One's fiscal year 2022, which ends basically the end of this year. Next one is fiscal year 2023. Supposedly, so within like 3 months, we should get the whole thing. Is my understanding. I already went in the portal, set it up, everything's done. I mean, here's my confirmation, so the money's coming. I talked with Kim just to make sure that I was reading all the information and statutes correctly. It's a very broad spectrum, whereas ARPA was pretty specific on infrastructure, public safety and some economic development, which I do think if we had to, we could put it under public safety through ARPA. This one is basically going to go into gen fund for general fund operations. There's really no, limitations on what that is. So I'll be opening up a trust fund within the gen fund, labeled LATCF or LATC fund. So that could be used for, this particular purchase. I mean, we could very easily, I think, meet all the parameters and all the reporting requirements in this with the purchase of that and whatever else, other ancillary, costs to go along with this that you might encounter whenever they get here. And
I think you're right, it's very broad use. And that totals 204, 238.
yes,
Okay,
Like I said, that's good news.
that's very good news, isn't it?
When you say awarded, that's a good start.
yes. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna have to do, we can pay Bellwether $5,000 for them to do a report, but if we're gonna actually use this money, it's gonna be quick. I mean, I can do it. I don't want to, but I'll just keep adding up these administrative expenses for the end of the year.
All right, moving on to more new business. animal control building lease agreement. But you had an issue with one word. in there?
Yeah, so under paragraph 1, or item 1, paragraph 2, it says the following. Lessor does not warrant that it has good and merchantable title to the above described leased premises, but does not hereby lease such interest as it may have in such property. I believe it should read, lessor does not warrant that it has good merchantable title to the above described leased premises, but does hereby lease such interest as it may have in such property. I think they just did put the nod in there. So I sent an email to Kristen in Florida. I attempted to call her cell phone as well as her office phone to get that clarified. I think you could pass the lease with the changeover of the removal of not, that won't, then when she says, yes, I agree, which I think she will, we'll have the document ready for signature and we'll have to come back to another meeting. But you guys can certainly wait to see the final if she does that, but it doesn't make sense that, I get what she's saying, they don't know what title they have, but I think she intends to lease whatever title they may have, but this says she's not doing either. So if you sign it as is, you're not leasing anything.
Well, it's only costing us $1.
I know, but
So
still,
there's
it's
that.
$1 overspent.
Yeah,
Do you have any questions?
Not on this particular.
Then I'll make a motion that we approve the animal control building lease agreement contingent that General Dynamics make the correction and with the approval from our Assistant State's Attorney that the correction has been made correctly. That's my motion.
that's your motion.
Got all that?
We have a second, roll call please.
Jim Marlowe,
Yeah.
Tim Atkinson, Jim Raising.
And I would have to say too, I do know a few people that do work out there. I think they are going to put another testing range out there. And
I forgot to ask, I was with somebody, but I absolutely forgot to ask.
I do think it would still be in our best interest to move forward with the new animal control building. We did put money aside
It's in
for that capital improvement. And I think what we need to discuss or put it on maybe the next agenda meeting,
Yeah,
selection of
that's our main
engineer
area.
to do that, or architect rather, I should say.
We need to start searching for an architect.
Yeah, so, but I just don't want to drop this ball. We set the money aside, and I think I can envision a time where they're gonna come back and say, we no longer want to have this lease.
I read this as a 60-day lease that renews every day.
Yeah,
When they can drop out at 60-day notice,
Yeah.
and I think you're right, we need to move forward.
They kicked us out of the refuge area for the board, and everything. It was, I can see where this could happen as well with this scenario here. I think we need to be prepared. We do have the property, and that was one of the main reasons why we traded for that property, was because it's centrally located, just north of the cemetery on Route 37, right next to where the Ameren training facility is there. We have access, a couple of different accesses to our property, although it is overgrown, it'll take some work, but we have the property, I think it's 21 point some odd acres that we have there. So
yeah, there's no ground.
it's out of the way. When Terry Watts was animal control supervisor, we went up to, Terry and I went up to Franklin County to look at their animal control facility. They got a very nice facility. I know Terry had come up with a set of plans. We still have those plans. And I think we can, as good as the facility as that was, it does stand, there's some room for improvement on it. They dealt with cats, we don't, we only deal with dogs and wild animals like coyotes or raccoons, anything like that. But anyway, I just think we just need to.
We need to
stay
do
on top of this.
that. Well, we put the money in the budget.
Yeah.
Take care of it. Moving on to resolutions. Actually, you had the appropriations transfer resolution.
Yeah, you may or may not want to vote on this. Brett, I emailed this to you. I didn't know if you had a chance to look at it.
I did, I read it this morning. I understand the premise. I don't completely understand the logic, but from a legal review element, it does what it purports to do. I just have when we're changing money from a contingency account, I think that's exactly what it's for, but if it's record keeping purposes, then I don't have a problem with the appropriations resolution.
Well, I mean, this is kind of a template to work off of. I was using the state's attorney's budget, because after talking with you all individually, don't want Mr. Hampson to start off his fiscal year in the negative or carry anything over. So this basically says, based off of the statute that's provided at 55 ILCS 56-003, is that it requires a 2/3 vote of the board to be able to move money into any kind of payroll-related line item. What I did is I supplied a chart for you and moving monies around, and I don't know if you looked at this or added it up. If you add up the total, it comes up to $74,000, although there's only $58,000 that's actually over. The reason why those totals add up to that, you're actually moving funds inter-fund or inter-budget. So there's $57,962 that's actually going to come out of contingency, $17,016 that's going to come internally from the funds that actually have a positive balance. There's $147.41 that I need to change or move around with those two. I need to look and see why that one overtime pay is $150 over, whenever that should be, I thought, set by the contract and the weekly amounts were determined. So I would research that, but all total, it's just moving this money around to be able to get this to zero. And again, that was just, the interpretation and all the conversations I've had with every treasurer and when dealing with their state's attorney's office, that they, like the one of the examples that I received actually listed contingency. To move that into a payroll-related line item. If it's of your decision that it's not necessary,
And that,
that's the board's
So are
decision.
they getting participation of the office holders on this? Who's filling out that paperwork? Is that
I
something you're
did,
doing?
yeah.
Okay. Because at one time we talked about the office holders.
So, I've talked to every office holder, I haven't talked to the new ones, but I've talked to the, obviously, all the ones that are there, that they can move money and operational expenses from one to another. Actually, the sheriff's office has done it, Joy has done it for two different funds, Brian, and EMA has done it, I've done it multiple times within my own fund, but, every office has the opportunity to move those funds, but again, it goes back to that statute, if it's payroll related, you can't move money into or out without a 2/3 vote of the commissioners. So that's why I just included all of them.
yeah, and I've not done enough of a research on the issue as to whether or not when I deem contingency, I deem it as a general usage fund. And so I don't know whether or not that it applies. I understood where you were at on the other ones, where you were pulling it from this or pulling from that. I didn't completely understand the contingency element.
Well, I think part of it too, the board has, enacted the policy or the process lately is that all raises for any kind of negotiated or currently negotiated, contracts would be put in contingency until those are ratified and signed. So like a lot of this money, there's 10,192 in the ASA increase that was put back in contingency. Now, that was at 70 cents an hour. That ended up being $1.65 an hour. So it was going to be short, the money was going to have to come out of true contingency allocated into. So that may be the case. But then, there's also the prior state's attorney mentioned that he was going to have 2 employees that were leaving mid-year. So the board chose to put that money into contingency until, those positions were filled. And then that it was going to be brought before them. Those one individual has stayed the entire time. The other one didn't leave until October. So those, I think, are specific examples where that money was actually put in with the knowledge that it would be moved out, but at their discretion, and at their discretion only, with the, input from the office holder. So, I mean, I know where you're coming from, like, the 13,000 that was just over because the anticipated raise ended up being much lower than what the actual raise was. Yeah, that could be just moved over because it's gotta be there. But the other ones have been put back, I mean, just to make sure that they weren't leaving too much money in, office holders budget. So,
I'm not sure if we need this.
I'll be honest, I'm on the fence with it, but I would say that it doesn't harm you one way or the other. That's why I said if it's for a record keeping element, it does exactly what it purports to do.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% certain that it's necessary, but it's, like I said, it's.
What's your thoughts, man?
You're talking about moving money out of a different fund into. That does require, does it not?
that is, yes. Well, per the statute, but now he's saying if it's contingency,
But we,
maybe not necessarily. Okay, I'll tell you, so from my side, yeah, with a keystroke, I can move the money.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's not really what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to put in what you tell me to put in as far as the budget's concerned. So from a CYA standpoint, I want you to approve this. Now, whether or not it needs to be done in a motion
yeah.
and not just a
But what-
reviewer sign off on.
So normally what I would see is I would see something come before the board asking for Ted's overage salary to be paid out of contingency. The board makes the motion for approval of X dollars to come out of contingency to pay that. Done. Yours is more detailed in that it's showing transfer from here, transfer over to there, et cetera, as opposed to a normal claim system where he's just got an overage that he needs to shore up at the end of the year, if that makes sense. So that's, like I said, it does the same purpose, you just have a lot more detail as to this is specifically where it's going and how. Which again, going back to the record keeping element, if that's what you prefer, that's fine. I would be perfectly content with the board making a motion to pay such and such claim out of contingency. And that's where it's at. So I don't know if I'm
Well, for
making
my
sense, but
recommendation,
Let's,
you need as much information to make your decision as possible, and that's why you need this, rather than just signing off on a claim and then realizing that you had $10,000 moved out of contingency and not know where it went when you were budgeting for the next year.
I see Mr. State's attorney nodding in agreement. You agree with this, Mr. Attorney?
I agree with what Brett said. So,
Guys, do what you want. We can make a motion or we can take
Back to
it.
why there were two different values, can you bring that up for me again?
Well, so
We'll make a motion.
17,000 was moved basically intra-fund. So it's gonna add in, but literally it's moving from like X to Y. So it doesn't, I mean, I have to move it, I have to show going to and from, but from the overall standpoint, the true amount that's coming out of contingency to
Did you
fund
read
it is only
So
that,
we're good.
that 57,000. Yeah, yeah. So even though if you start to add these up, you're gonna be like, well, that comes up to 74,000. How come that's 74, but yet the negative number on here is 58? So,
All right, is there a motion to approve this?
what's the amount that needs to be moved into?
well, I mean, the total amount from contingency is 57,962.20. That would account for these bottom four listings, the 22, 50, 76, 72, 89, 44, 92, 43, and then 39, 179. Those four make up that 57,962.20.
Then that's the number that's needed to zero it out.
Well, to come from contingency from yours,
Right,
but again,
But that's the number needed to take care of everything.
within 100, there's 147.41 that I'm still researching.
So Jim, how it's worded is it's a resolution, so we'll need a resolution number from Amanda.
We
But
have,
then it references an exhibit, which is the spreadsheet that he's reciting off of, so it combines it together. So if you make a motion to approve the resolution to transfer funds, it encompasses everything that's on the backside of that as well that has the details. So you don't need to specify a dollar amount
Okay,
as much as you need to specify that it's approving a resolution.
then I'll make a motion.
what's that resolution number? Somebody have it?
Stephanie,
Well, do you have the number?
Yeah. So it would be 22-12-05-64.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we approve resolution 22-12-05-64, allowing money to be transferred from contingency to the, state's attorney's line item, or how do you?
Just say the resolution, just
Just say the
Just
number.
say,
say the number and it doesn't.
it covers the rest of it.
Roll
Jim
call,
Barlow,
please.
Yes.
Tim Atkinson.
Yeah.
Jim Raising.
Yeah.
Okay, now does this take care of, because, you know, we've got I've got claims here for circuit clerk's office and state's attorney.
No, those
Other
will be
line
discussed. That's why, I mean, this is only, I just want to knock this out and
That
then
was just for that resolution.
that's for this only. There's, well, the other state's attorney stuff that we have, I mean, that can be a third discretion, but we still have until the 12th, the 13th for anybody to submit. So I've got no operational. This was just,
Okay, all right,
You know,
well,
and-
we'll keep submitting these up here then
Yeah.
with a sign-off sheet.
Yeah.
For those offices, okay.
Anything else on appropriations transfer? I just got miscellaneous things. Do you have anything else on your list?
No, the only thing I would like to talk about is, as we discussed a little bit, we touched on it in the prior meeting, the different board appointments, and I just want to make sure I know.
Oh, I wasn't ready to do that.
I don't want to do it right now, but I do want to make sure that it does, that the bi-county and crosswalk do require a commissioner to be on those boards. I believe that's the way it was presented to me from the chairman of Crosswalk. I just want to make sure on bi-county.
I will have to look for sure. I know that since I've been involved with Bi-County, they have got a board member from Franklin, and they've always had a board member from Williamson, and then an at-large from Williamson, and an at-large from Franklin. And then after that, it's their doctors, and it's their dentists, and it's their,
Yeah.
you know, that element. So
So,
I believe that is accurate. I do not know about crosswalk. Bi-county is under the health department statute, so that is specific as far as their makeup. I don't know what crosswalk's formation is based upon. If their bylaws indicate it, I just don't have the experience with crosswalk.
I will forward you the email that I received. You can take a look at that, and then maybe get in contact with the chairman.
Okay.
Over there to discuss it further.
yeah, I would like to do those committee assignments
So I just wanted,
on our regular board meeting.
yeah, oh, yeah. So I would just want to discuss that, touch on it.
So we did talk a little bit about ARPA. Anything else on ARPA?
I've got multiple, or a whole bunch of claims to be approved.
Okay.
First one, is actually from Mr. Hampson, the judicial backlog, 6,545 and 9 cents.
That's the last one.
That's for November.
Expire November 30th.
So just to bring you up to date, Mr. Razor, those are presented to you each meeting with whatever I have, requires all 3 board member signatures to approve before I cut the checks.
We've already approved spending money.
Yeah.
This is just,
Yeah, this is part of it. These are the,
So is there any of that money left, or is that?
I haven't, I'd have to look and see. There's a little bit, but not
we can
much.
ask Ted.
So, I mean, Terry Thien obviously has way more than.
It would have been close.
Yeah.
One
Yeah, I
for
hadn't been
the
close.
state attorney's office.
You want these signed in the meeting or after?
Well, I mean,
We can just.
sign them in the meeting, approve them, so.
Right. And what else did you have, actually?
Next one, Village of Freeman Spur, this is for their, they have 2 projects. This is for the water tower, Clarity Ziegler Engineering, and then Mid-South Tank Consultants, total of that $21,750. Blairsville Water District, this is for the aid for setting the power, I guess, to the water tower, $13,750. Let's see, Village of Freeman Spur. This is for the lift station project, another Clarity Ziegler Engineering and CNC Pump. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 invoices for them, totaling $81,112.20. Blairsville, staff maintenance cost and administrative fees for the water tower project, $4,898.25. That one's about paid out, and it is going to come under budget for Joe Boyke's analysis. And then this is Heron House of Hope. This is reimbursement of expenses for food purchased from Sam's and performs food services for meals for the month of October, $7,958.
You know how many invoices House of Hope is turning in? Is that his first?
That's our first one. I have another set that they just sent me. I've added them up, but I have been emailing them to try to confirm the dollar amounts and make sure that what I have matches. I was missing a page for one of them, so I was not on this one. They confirmed that one, but the one that I just did, we were missing like a page 2, so I didn't know if there was another amount that was there that wasn't listed. So I've emailed him. I haven't heard a response back from him.
I'd like to maybe at the end of this year, send a letter out to make sure, see where we're at with everything.
Yeah.
At the end of 23.
We can do that. We have a running total for every single project on Excel, so we can show exactly what their amount was, what's been expended to date.
And these were the first billings for Freeman Spur, right?
I think so, yeah. They were the ones that never signed their participation agreement.
They never did?
Well, they finally did, but they were delayed. That was, I mean, everybody had signed, turned everything in, and then it just sat. Those are old invoices. They've just been, the contractors have just been hanging out because they hadn't signed.
I do know the mayor of Freeman Spur, I think he works at the post office as well. So it's a timely issue.
So that's all those.
Okay.
Okay, good.
And then I have budget issues.
You want to talk about budget issues?
Yes, if you guys have.
Yes.
Ted, you have anything you want to talk about, or you can just sit?
I was saving Ted for the end of it.
Just happened to be here.
Well, I didn't know if you had to leave or.
No,
take
it
off.
just-
I'm always busy.
Unless you
Let's
say-
see this in action. Razor's first day.
Yeah. All right, Ashley, you said you had budget issues?
Yeah, I guess the first one, December 13th is the last day for any office to file anything, any claim request to be paid in this current fiscal year, or I guess last fiscal year now. That's going to be a hard and fast cutoff, so we can get it done and finished up. I will need a meeting probably that Friday to be able to generate the final budget amount and then do actual final transfers of any monies that need to be
So
moved
that'd
from
be the
contingency.
16th?
Yeah, 15th or 16th, one of the,
16th is Friday.
well, Thursday or Friday, whatever we work with your schedule, I can probably get it done in a day. But, whatever monies need to be moved to contingency over, and then all funds that are over, or all departments that are under budget, moving all that over to contingency to see where we end up, in the final part of the fiscal year.
What day would you like?
Well, I mean, if we could do it Friday, that'd be easier, because then it gives me an extra day to prep it.
Okay, no.
But,
Okay.
Well, originally said Friday, then he said Thursday, and then it's back to Friday.
well, I'm trying to be,
You mean this Friday?
No,
No.
that's the 16th.
the 16th. After the 13th is our cutoff date for any office to run something through.
Actually, how long of a meeting do you need that day?
Oh, I mean, if I get it all put together,
Well,
I mean,
reason why I
10 minutes.
asked that was, 2 weeks instead of 1. I'm sorry, actually,
Sure.
that's, that one. You make that.
Yeah, that's right there. That's what I was
Yeah.
saying, how long?
Secondly, I know, you may have gotten an email from Brian.
And we got that on that Thursday.
Yeah, from Brian,
Oh, Burgess?
Burgess.
I took that to mean in January.
Okay, I didn't read the email,
It
but
was-
he told me.
He was
that
wanting to have an hour-long meeting.
An hour-long meeting.
Yeah, yeah, that's, yeah, so let's push that off until January.
Okay.
So I have 5-10 minutes tops, unless you have a lot of questions as to why, money's
Okay.
being moved or who did what.
Can you do it on the 15th?
Yeah, I'll do it on 15.
Jim, can you do it on the 15th?
What time on the 15th?
Okay, I was just getting to that point. How about 11 o'clock? 10 o'clock?
Whatever, ready.
I would say, let's make it 10. I have
10?
something in
You
the
good for 10?
afternoon.
All right, 10 on Thursday, 15th.
It may still be the same, like appropriation resolution and a gigantic attachment with all the
Okay.
various, things done. Just to get some directive or direction on some of these things, so,
Can you meet at 10?
Just put it like that.
so the commissioners had agreed at one point in time for the sheriff's office, whenever they hired the one retiree to bring back, that you would move money from contingency to cover everything. Well, and whenever I ran the budget for the sheriff's office and their salary, their total salary line items, they're $78,000 under budget. So, excuse me, 75,000. My question is, do you want to still move that money even though they don't need it?
But they requested it.
They requested it, but again, if
But that
to
budget's
use any
over.
of these funds would again require a 2/3 vote for you to move any of the $75,000 in any other fund. So, to uphold your word, would you like to move that money?
Well, the
So you
purpose
say
of
you
it
did
was for them to, and this is the reason why we did that, was just in case they didn't hire somebody, I still had the money, and it wouldn't be misappropriated. So that money then,
It's not needed. That's what I'm saying.
well,
It's
right
not
now
needed.
it's not needed, but, so does that, then do we, I guess what you're asking for, do we put that back into contingency, general fund? or-
It's sitting in contingency now.
Yeah,
They asked you to move it from contingency into like 2 specific line items. Again, those 2 line items are not overdrawn. And the overall portion of all of these salaries that pertain to the sheriff's office are a net positive $75,000.
So
So
that
moving,
budget's done.
I know, so that's what I'm saying. That otherwise,
not
in
this
this,
budget.
just moving money and just showing that you were $78,000 or $79,000, under budget on this particular, area, it is a moot point. But I also didn't want to just not do it just because I'm not going to make decisions for the 3 of you.
The budget year is over. The request from them was in last year's budget.
right.
It's the previous administration that
Yes.
requested this.
Yeah, and all paychecks are done. There's no new paychecks coming out.
Right, it's not,
What is in, and that's why I did the appropriations for the state attorney. What shows up in the wage line item or what is there? That is done, finished, over.
No vacation payouts,
Just
nothing,
No,
nothing limited.
nothing looming.
Uh,
Everything, clothing expenses, everything else that applies to all of this in this upcoming fiscal year.
So let me ask this clarification question. So if hypothetically you were to move those funds over,
Mhm.
the budget's over,
Right.
what happens to those funds? Is there some credit account that those flush into?
It all
So,
sits in the general fund.
so it goes back to the general fund reserve,
It's
right?
already in the general fund as it is. It's
It's-
literally,
So then there's
it's,
no purpose.
it's
There's
just,
no purpose.
other than a feel good of I was, $78,000 under compared to 75.
Some purpose.
no,
I didn't know if it,
let's let him, if he needs it, he can send a new request.
Okay.
Everybody okay with that?
You'll get that. You'll get that.
We'll get there. We're not for last year's budget.
So the next one then to discuss is the circuit clerk's budget. Circuit clerk is $30,013.96 over on the regular employee line item. There is, which was where needs to be discussion. There was a contract that was ratified in February. Those employees received a 70 cents an hour raise. What was put back in contingency was listed at 18 employees at 70 cents times 1820, which is $22,932. And looking at the employee timesheets for the last 2 payrolls, there are only 13 total employees that are listed in the gen fund, that are being paid out of the gen fund. All the other employees are paid out of special funds. So my question is, this 18, I don't know where the 18 came from. That was something that was either or maybe whenever it was calculated, it was based off of 18 total employees, not deciding on who was going to be on special funds and who was going to be on gen fund. So the question being, there are now there's 14. Some of there's none of those added in between. There are I only have 13 employees that are listed on the gen fund. So my question is if I take 13 times the 70 cents,
$16,562.
So 16,562, based off of what all this was, should be moved over from contingency into that line item. But that still makes you $13,000 short.
It's still 13,000 over budget.
Yes. I asked Red, and because what triggered all this was the payment of unused vacation time, which I thought what the contract read, or that's what the way it's being interpreted. I think Red had made the comment, and if I don't need to be talking about any of this, if it pertains to the contract in open session, I'll be quiet.
I don't know until you talk.
Well, that perhaps there was a clause or something in there that said that you were only paid unused vacation time if it was denied by the supervisor.
Correct.
Or the office head. So I don't know if that's the case or not. If everybody was denied, those days off or what. But nevertheless, it's $13,000 over the budget. So the question is, are you going to move that from contingency to offset, or are you going to make him pay that and reimburse the county for those vacation days that were unused?
My question is, was there one employee that had 3 weeks vacation?
There was at least one, yes.
Okay. My question is, why is there one employee not taking his vacation? He or she not taking. I think that's a question, to me, that throws up a red flag. Because way back in 2013, that's how the theft over there started. I'm not making an accusation that there's theft. It's just not, the ability to cross-train people, to make sure people take their vacations, was safety procedures that were put in place afterwards. We had the next circuit clerk. It's just not good that somebody, to me, it's always a red flag. Why is that individual not taking their vacation? There's got to be a reason. Maybe it was COVID, maybe it was shorthandedness. I don't know. Could be a very legitimate reason. But I think maybe what we need to do is get him in here, talk to him and ask them, find out. And honestly, if he's over budget, I mean, he's been here long enough now. I think maybe he pays a difference out of his funds. Funds check.
So we know why he went over. We haven't what he went over on.
So there's vacation time.
Just the vacation time is what he went over.
The clause under their contract says it's different than the sheriff's department. So the sheriff's department says it's use it or lose it unless the sheriff denies vacation. Under this one, it indicates all vacation time is to be taken before November 30th in the year earned. Employees shall be compensated for all vacation not used prior to the end of the fiscal year. Vacation days may be used separately or taken in blocks. When vacation days are used separately, advance written notice. So there is not any lose it provision under theirs. So the difficulty is if the employee wants to hold back their 15 days and never take a vacation, instead of getting paid for 1,820 hours in a year, they're going to get that plus an additional 120 hours. So that's the loophole. Now, a whole other thing on what you're asking as to whether or not people are taking vacation but not taking vacation off of paper. If you ever figure out that solution, let me know, and there's about 20 other counties that would love to know the same response, because it's amazing when people leave how much vacation time they still have on the books, despite the fact that you ask the coworkers and they say that they're never there. So again, not saying that's where it's at, but under the provision, that is permitted. So.
And I'm not trying, the only reason I'm bringing this up is that, if that's the way it reads, they're well within the right. That's
Right.
Whenever an office holder submits their budget, it's based on an employee working 1,820 hours, or getting credit for 1,820 hours. If
But
it
you need
lists
to
that-
budget for future
But yeah,
wise.
but the question is, do you need to add a line or know that you're gonna be paying that out of contingency or something for, this particular office in which every
Yeah.
single employee could bank every day of vacation?
Otherwise, it's not funded liability.
Yeah, yeah.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Right. No, we didn't have this issue. I don't remember having this issue last year.
No, it wasn't.
No, I don't remember, at least not across the entire.
Well, I mean, and perhaps it was because of not having a full staff or something, or people leaving and there was enough money to cover.
Yeah,
That I can go back and print you a report to show, who used or who was paid out vacation time, in the prior fiscal year. I don't know that, but it didn't come to light until, this particular, time. But again, that could be a significant amount of money that's going to be funded by someone.
so you're asking us if we can move that on contingency into that?
I'm just asking you to think of what you would like to do, and either give me some kind of directive. Otherwise, your only options are pay out of contingency or like you said, have him write a check to reimburse, and we would put it in miscellaneous income, for,
We do have a meeting on Wednesday.
We did have a meeting on Wednesday. Let's do it. Yep.
That give us plenty of time to take care of whatever the issue, however.
however you want. Yeah, well, we have until next Thursday to
Yeah.
decide. what needs to be done.
So,
needs to be-
Wednesday,
Yeah.
whatever.
I just wanted to bring your attention to it because, it can become an unfunded,
Sure.
liability.
Right.
From some, from some,
Right.
to be paid for someone.
Let's get it in here.
Yes, we just-
Will you be here Wednesday?
What time is your meeting Wednesday?
What? What?
The 10th.
10, yeah.
That'd be a no.
Yeah, man, thank you. Whitney.
And why not?
Because he has other clients besides us. Right, so that's at 10 o'clock. We're at.
Well, we could, is there a Friday morning?
Okay, are we close?
Well, let me ask this. You join us by Zoom, say like in the afternoon, before we get recess and reconvene.
If there's an issue that you guys,
Well, let me just ask the board.
that comes up, certainly.
Here for that.
I don't see this as being a big issue. I
That's
agree.
all I'm
No,
asking.
we'll take care of it Wednesday morning.
Well, I just want to make sure, while we have it here,
And if we run into that
before we let
hurdle,
him go.
just put it on the table and come out later.
Okay.
Any of you that don't have my cell phone.
Wait for the phone call, Rich.
Okay. All right.
Okay, are we done with
I
that?
think we're done with that.
Okay. Ted, did you have anything you want to talk about since you were here first? Alex?
And for my legal means.
Hey, for your legal counsel. Does anybody have anything else?
Better close out for someone else walks in.
Well, unless somebody's got something else, my gosh, this has been a long meeting.
I will announce that I did get word from Jeremy with AFSCME that the assessor's office wrote a contract today and did 100% approved at 70 cents a year for the next 3 years. So,
Terrific.
we're gonna draft in front of the board for formal adoption, but I did wanna to let that know. And then you've got,
We've got animal control.
animal control Thursday morning, for negotiations.
Animal control Thursday, did you have that on your schedule, Jim?
I think I sent out the email invite for everybody.
Well, if nobody has anything else, we will recess and reconvene.
I make a motion that we recess the meeting on Wednesday, 10 o'clock, is it?
December 7th, 10 a.m.
Ben Marlowe,
Okay.
Tim Atkinson,
Yeah.
Jim Racer.
You can go on.
Thank you, everybody.
Mr. Chairman, is it?
I-
Somewhat good job.
I'm more than a little bit confused.